Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Shiraz, and we're going to start a career panel. So to start off, we'll have everyone introduce themselves, tell a little bit about yourself, where you guys work, and yes, about who you are.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Maham. I live here in Dublin and I work in tech at Adobe as a product manager.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Shiba and it's an honor to be here talking to the youth. I also live in Dublin and I work at Google and I lead a team of problem solvers there, solving some payment problems. So if you go online or even if you go in a store and you tap to pay, the seamless experience that you experience there is basically because of a group of people behind it. So my team basically enables that for both online and offline merchants.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Jazakallah khair for the opportunity. My name is Farheen Sultana and I am a senior plan reviewer with City Jurisdiction. I am a structural engineer with the state of California.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. I'm Saba Osmani. I work in data science and analytics. So my job is to look at data and help the business make better decisions. Before this job, I was a computer engineer. So I did a lot of coding, Java coding, C++ coding in the past, and built these products. Now what I do is more look at the data and drive business decisions. Sister Santi, maybe you can go next.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum everyone. I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, I'm traveling right now. So my name is Santi. I'm currently working for Roche Diagnostic. I lead a team of material scientists, chemical engineer. We are trying to develop our next generation sequencing, and it's very exciting news for us because together with the Broad Institute, we just broke the world record for the speed of gene sequencing. So something that I don't usually can say on a daily basis. Exciting time to be an engineer working for Roche.
All right. So starting off with the first question, what is your guys' favorite part of your job?
Okay. Give me a second. I think my favorite part is I work for jurisdictions. Basically, I have all the development that you see right now here, like, building approvals or any approval that you go in a city and you want anything constructed for a tenant improvement or anything, it goes through city and it goes through building department and it needs our approval. So at a local level or an individual level, it gives me an opportunity to serve the community, and it at a level it gives a Muslim presence in city jurisdictions. I've not seen a lot of Muslims in cities, and the reason I volunteered to be here is to expose the youth to the opportunities that are available in city jurisdictions.
I'm tempted to say that the favorite part of working at Google is the food. If any one of you have been to a Google office, they serve us all the meals. Their micro kitchens are full of lot of snacks and everything. But of course, when you join in, like I joined there like 15 years ago, so it's been a very long time at Google. So I've overcome that, excitement for, being excited about the food part. But what I really enjoy about my work is primarily three things. So the first thing is people. Being a manager, I get the opportunity to coach people, develop them, and mentor them so that they can become future leaders. So that's really satisfying. Google spends a lot of time to hire the best talent. So also being surrounded with those kind of talent is amazing. And learning for myself, the second part is solving puzzles. The kind of role that we are in, we get faced with a lot of challenges. So basically imagine there are all these different technologies out there, payment technologies out there, and we want to make sure that all these technologies are talking to each other. And any point they break, it breaks a lot of systems. So we have to try to find out what's going on and solve it. So it's like being a detective to figure out what's going on and then finding the right solution to fix it. So that's the second part. The third part is impact, because working at Google gives us the opportunity to have a global impact, not only for big businesses, but also for small businesses out there, giving them the means to be successful and giving people the opportunity to pay safely and securely online, offline. That's what excites me.
I think for me, one of my favorite parts is also the people. So as a product manager, I have to work with a lot of different people, not just like customers and people who are stakeholders in the products that we work on, but also internal team members and all of the people who are actually building the product. So I love the idea of interacting with so many different people and hearing everyone's ideas and problem solving as well. The team that I work on is more internal facing. So a lot of the people who use the products are actually employees. And so we get to work with all different types of employees and see their perspectives and really build a good experience for them. So that's one of my favorite parts. And the other favorite part that I have about my current role is the creativity. Working at a creative company like Adobe, they work on a lot of creative products, and their whole company culture emphasizes, using your creative freedom and applying that to your own role at the company. So even if you're like working on a product, everything is very much driven by creativity and making an impact. So that whole culture is really nice because you can have the craziest of ideas, and nothing is too out of the box or too too imaginative. They will do their best to make it happen, and it really allows for you to have creative freedom even if you're doing something that's so technical.
I'll go next. I'm tempted to say my favorite part is that I get to work from home. So that's, being a mother of two kids, it's easier if I can work from home and take care of other responsibilities too. It just makes it a little bit easier. But outside of that, in terms of work, my favorite part is to come up with ideas or new problems new solutions to the problems that we have. So we get to hear phone calls, like if customers are calling in, and you can hear those concerns and think of what can we do on the product side to improve it. Kind of goes back to creativity point there. It's like coming up with creative solutions, trying to talk to the other people in business to promote, like, we should do that. And nobody would just listen to your idea, right? You have to make a case. You have to come up with why is this the best solution. So you have to kind of think through all the options and why this is the best option. How will you measure if this is a good option? Do we need to do a test? Just everybody coming together to help customers and coming up with a solution that will grow the business but also help the customers overall. So I find that really exciting and interesting problems that we get to solve. So Jasanti?
For me, I enjoy the fact that the technology that I'm developing has a potential in terms of saving people's life. And that's the case for both my experience working for a medical device company as well as right now diagnostic companies. I personally have a high risk for cancer, just from family, and then knowing that the technology that I'm developing could someday help reducing me for cancer risk is really satisfying. For personal purpose, I guess, leading a team, there is also satisfaction in terms of supporting people where they want to grow, and I'm hearing that from several of the panelists as well. So I'm glad I should come and be here. Thank you.
All right, next question. What experience when you guys were younger caused you to be interested in the profession you have today? And what advice would you give to someone younger who wants to pursue this profession in the future?
So when I was in high school, I was so in my school back in the day, we used to. I don't know if that's true here in schools or not, but you know how in Harry Potter you have houses, you know, different houses. So we used to have houses in our school. So there were 4 houses, which were ruby, emerald, sapphire, and topaz, named after the stones, but kind of like each color had its own house. And in my high school year, I was the captain for the house. So I was leading like, the entire school. Anyone who was in one of those houses, I was one of the captains there. And I was assigned the house, which was probably the most laid back, lazy, and, you know, the house which had the worst reputation of losing everything, all the competitions. And of course, I was not going to let it go that way. And in what I heard from people is this house has never won any competition. And I was like, okay. To start with, it was a big challenge, but it's not something that can't be undone. And we used to have like annual sports competition, and that was the main event of the year, other than other smaller events that would happen. And we started like, I had to motivate and coach my team that, hey, we need to win it. We can't just let it go. We can't have this bad name forever associated with our house. And we started practicing and prepping for the sports day, even when others were not even thinking about it. And they were like, why is this house already practicing? They would make fun of us, but we didn't let that get to our heads. And we started practicing. I kept motivating the team, and we ultimately won. Like all the senior teachers from the school said, we don't even remember when was the last time this house won. So they were all surprised, and it was a big year for our team because this was never done. So we rewrote kind of like history and broke that losing streak. Now, how that connects with what I'm doing today, it was a lot of like teamwork and leadership that helped in making the team win. Now, when I was in school, I didn't know that I would work for Google. Probably Google didn't even exist or was a very small company at that time. But what I would love to give as a suggestion to the youth is technology is changing very quickly. What we have today, 5 years down the line, it might not exist. So what is the most important skill is to stay curious. You need to be curious. You need to ask questions why and how things are working and how they are working. That's one of the most important skills to have because things are getting outdated very quickly. We didn't learn about AI growing up in school, but we had to adapt very quickly and learn and understand that to be able to sustain in this world. The second thing would be, of course, communication. That is really critical. You can be a technical expert, but if you cannot explain that to someone in a simple language, what you are doing or what you are working on, it's not helpful. So being able to articulate anything in a simple, concise way or having good, clear communication is really important. And third one I would say is empathy or compassion. Always stay grounded and compassionate and empathetic about everything. That's, I think, whether it's workplace or you're at home, that's another skill that would take you a long way. Thank you.
For me, I think the biggest experience from when I was younger that kind of brought me to where I am today. So I don't know if any of you have heard of the Muslim Youth of North America, or MINA. They have a lot of events and camps and, kind of have a lot of opportunities for Muslim youth to meet one another and grow with one another and attend these events and learn from these scholars. So I went to their camps and I eventually got involved in their leadership. And I was a very shy kid. I was not a people's person. I was more reserved and to myself. But after I went to my first camp and got on my first planning committee, MINA's whole purpose is for the youth and by the youth. So everything is planned entirely by youth. I was thrown into situations where I was, leading a committee and planning a camp from scratch and, working with speakers and working with parents and advertising and doing all of these things, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old. And eventually, as I got later into high school and college, I was on their national executive committee. So I was leading a team of youth across the country to be able to do those things. So being in that experience, alhamdulillah, gave me a lot of the people skills and, project management skills that I developed, and it made me realize that I want to go into a field where I can work with people and help with problem solving and be creative, while also making an impact and, doing something like that. I didn't want to just be sitting behind a computer all day and, not really having an interaction, or only using technical skills but not having any of the soft skills I developed be a part of my day-to-day experience. So that experience and the friendships I made through that, and the ability I had to just make that impact for Muslim youth across the country, really made me want to go into a field where I could do something similar as a profession. So with that, I think the one piece of advice I would give to the youth is, always explore your options, and a really good way to do that is just get involved in your community. It can be at a small scale. It doesn't have to be anything big, but being in a leadership position, being involved in like clubs, and that can even just be your high school, college MSA. It can be Minna. It can be something that's even like outside of the community with like volunteering or giving back. Being in those positions, where you can make those connections, it not only helps you make professional connections, but it helps you develop those soft skills, the communication, the leadership, the problem solving. Those skills come in handy more in the workplace rather than just, what's technical and what you learn in school. So that's a big piece of advice I would give. And, always keep your options open. I feel like I learned so much from the people that I was working with in those times, my fellow youth and my peers, but also my adult mentors. They gave me so much advice, and I got to learn so much about so many different career paths. So, the fact that you're attending events like this, that's great, but just make sure you continue to make those connections and stay involved in your community, because that's where a lot of your resources are going to come from.
That's really good. So the way I came into data science is I started as a software engineer. Being from India, and in Indian families, we are like, either you become a doctor or you become an engineer. So that was the case for me too. And I was really good at math. I felt really passionate about math in high school and middle school. So I had to fight the whole family and pick that choice and become a computer engineer. While I was doing the coding work, I realized that, if you're a coder, people tell you what to make. So you get very detailed description of what your program should do. And having done that 2 years, I was like, why am I coding it this way? Why is this a requirement? So I wanted to get more on the business side and understand the why instead of just the, make it work this way. So that was one reason I wanted to go on the business side and chose data science. That was a growing field at that time, and new tools were being built. So that was a good opportunity to shift over to data analysis and data science. And it's still a very evolving field and moving more towards AI, and new tools are being built. So I feel like it's an exciting time, and it's a lot of new things you can explore. One other thing I would say, it's just as an advice, would be go with what your passion is. Like if you like math, or if you like whatever it is that you feel good about, try to choose that field, because if it's a success or not, you would feel responsible, and you would want to be in the driver's seat for your career and choose what's right for you. Is it Santi?
Those are really wonderful advice already. Perhaps the only one thing that I can add is don't be afraid of failure. Because oftentimes to be successful in anything, if this is something new, something that's difficult, whether you like it or not, you will run into a lot of failures before finally you will be successful. So it's not really something that you need to avoid, but it's really opportunities to learn and to improve. So embrace failures. That's how you learn, really. And then if you're not failing, then probably you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe it's too easy.
Hi. So I'm a civil engineer. As a kid, we all build Lego houses, and in India, you build houses using cardboard and everything. So through high school, I was like, I wanted to do something creative, and of course, in any Indian family, you want to become like doctor or engineer. And I was going to the admissions officer. I was like, okay, which field do you want? And because the only thing as a high schooler, I can only think of this thing. So I said, okay, civil engineering looks good, right? So I opted for civil engineering. But then once I went, there were other choices, and my dad knew dad did not know any better. So I was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, done. You'll go study civil engineering. And I went into civil engineering. I'm like, okay, this is not what I was hoping for. It is all mud, dirt, and rebar. There's like, you see all these beautiful houses, but then as a civil engineer, you never get to see the beautiful house. You get to see the dirt dug up and everywhere. I'm like, I was getting disheartened into first and second year of engineering as I was going in civil engineering. I was like, oh my God, I was questioning my choices, and I was like, what should I do? But then I ran into, as I was going along my courses, I came across a subject called structures, right? Like, so that's where your actual math get into, like, do the structure design of what's happening with its bridge or whatever. That's where they actually introduce how to engineer a structure from ground up. So I'm like, okay, this becomes interesting now, because civil engineers are like, use everything that is built around you is done by civil engineers. Parks and recreation, public works, fire department is the entry level position, like, all of these fields need civil engineers as their bachelor's degree. So there's a wide variety of acceptance for civil engineers, right? So structures and this is taught in civil engineering field, right? The courses include water resources to environmental, plumbing, and all the things that you can think of in a building structure or road structure or infrastructure, roadways, airports. All these are structures that are taught to you over 4 years of engineering course. So, and yeah, structure stuck to me, and then I said okay, something to hang on my hat to. So I was like, okay, but then that's a really one subject thing in a 4-year course, right? So if you want to really be involved in it, then you have to get higher studies. So that's what motivated me to apply for American University for master's in structural engineering, and that's how it actually opened new avenues for my path, which I am right now, a structural engineer in the state of California. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So the last question before the Q&A starts: what does living your faith out in the workplace look like for you?
You guys want to start?
I can start. Yeah, for me, I think it's a few things. I will say first and foremost, alhamdulillah, I think living in the Bay Area, it's a very diverse and accepting environment in most places. And, there's a lot of Muslims. At my company, we have a very big Muslim community. And, we do a lot of events for Ramadan and for Eid in the workplace. And everybody is very welcoming and accepting. And I know that's not a privilege that everybody has, but it's nice to have that sense of community so you don't feel, out of place by living out your faith and practicing on a day-to-day basis. I think one thing that's really important as well is when you first come into a role, kind of setting those expectations of, the importance of your faith and your religion and your day-to-day practice, whether that means setting aside time for your prayers or, talking to your leadership about Ramadan and what your schedule looks like then. For myself, a big thing was also I, wear hijab, so I would kind of talk about that very openly. People on my team may have questions that they're afraid to ask, but I kind of embrace the idea of just talking about it and making it, not a taboo subject or something that's touchy to speak about. So I think it's good to have that open line of communication with those who you're surrounded by to be able to live out your faith. And again, like I said, the culture of the company I'm at is very accepting, and they have accommodations and they've built prayer rooms for us, and they have these abilities that they give you to be able to live out your faith and the flexibility of putting that first. So I think whether you have that or not, I think it's very important to just set your priorities straight and, prioritize your deen first and foremost, because that's what comes above all else. And you need that in order to have barakah in your job and your day-to-day life. So make sure you kind of prioritize that, put that first, and really ground yourself in your Muslim identity as you're getting into the workplace, because the expectations that you set from the start are going to stick, and, you can only grow from there.
Plus one to what Sister said, I think working in a multinational company, we are very fortunate working in a company like Google or Adobe, because they do support all diversity and inclusion, even though with the latest change in government, there have been some controversies about that, but still these companies are very supportive and inclusive. And alhamdulillah, I'm blessed to be working there, because they do, as sister mentioned, provide like places where you can pray. But from what I do differently from my side is making sure that we are vocal about what we can and what we can't do. So, for example, we have a lot of like events, right? Like where there are things which we are prohibited to consume. Being very vocal about that, not getting under any pressure of consuming it just because everyone else is drinking. Being very clear that no, this is not something that I can take. So living that and believing that and being confident when you are saying that is very important, because if we are not confident, it's very easy for anyone to influence us. So that's very important. The other thing that what we have seen changed over the years is finding halal food in the office. It used to be rare, but now almost every meat, like at least for chicken, every chicken that we get now is halal, which over the years, even though not everyone is requiring that, but they've understood that there would be more people who could consume this if they just changed it to halal meat. So, there were like these small changes that have happened over the years just because of this. We have like a Muslim group within the company that voices that and, raises concern, gives feedback, and they accommodate that as long as it's something which is within their policy. So, yeah.
Sister Santi, maybe you can go next.
Sure. I would echo what the other panelists said already. One thing that I want to add is being Muslim, automatically we are, I guess, Islam is always in our day-to-day activity anyway. So, yes, I would really encourage everyone to be vocal at everything, but please also understand that comes with the expectation that we can also deliver in terms of performance and honesty and integrity and basically everything that's completely aligned with our Islamic values.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm not lucky like you guys where I'm in office and have our spaces. But in my case, it's more like talking about my faith, just spreading the information more, and when people ask questions. And also, I feel like the service, being able to service people, like if I listen to phone calls and I'm trying to help customers, so just bringing that mindset of service and helping others, I feel like the faith really helps you, guide you, like you are picking the right path and helping folks in the right way.
For me, being Muslim at my city is basically more like, I understand being a hijabi or a Muslim, but I think for me, it's more internal, like, giving a service a Muslim is supposed to, like, if somebody is like, I'm a customer facing, I have a customer facing job where like applicants call me, I'm facing customer day in and out. So the real impression of me presenting my faith to people is how nice, how polite, how kind, because this is an enforcement job. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm reviewing their plans for accuracy with building codes. That's my job. So it's an enforcement job. It's not any, like, people don't want to be corrected, don't want to be pointed out what's wrong, and they want their permit on the spot. But having said that, like, being kind and being professional at all times is like presenting myself as a good Muslim at all time and creating a great impression about Muslims at my workplace is my goal. And thank you.
All right, so we could go to the Q&A section. If anyone in the audience has any questions they would like to give to the people on the panel. Yeah.
Shaz, maybe you can go.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think like a lot of you guys have like tech-facing jobs. Are you guys like afraid of AI and like all of those advancements and how they're gonna like affect you in your job?
It's a very good question and kind of top of mind for a lot of people, even at the company. But remember one thing, like AI is not gonna replace humans in everything. Humans are developing these, and the best way to keep yourself updated is, of course, upskilling yourself and learning all that is coming and seeing how you can use that to make your job easier. And get to the next level that you always wanted to do. So I think now with AI, you have more opportunities and more things you can try out. It makes your day-to-day boring jobs easier and faster and gives you more time to think about other things which you have never had the time to do.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. I think it's important to keep in mind that, not everything and every people's skill that you have can be replaced by AI. Excuse me. Even if, you use AI on a day-to-day basis, sometimes you realize that there's some things that a human can just do better, and I think that part is not going to change as long as we upkeep that creativity and that passion that we have. And I think this is an area where faith also comes in. Like, for every day that I'm working hard at my job, I'm also, making dua and kind of remembering that, inshallah, things will play out the way that they're meant to, and that's where the faith really comes in too, because you can only do so much to keep up and really put in the effort, but at the end of the day, you plan and he plans. So it's one of those things where you put in your part and play your effort, and just maintain that drive and that compassion, and that's what will get you that way.
Yeah, I would say don't be scared of it. Things have changed over time always. As long as you are skilled, you are upskilling yourself, trying to learn about it. Having a fear of anything does not help in any way. No matter what the result is going to be, I would say don't be scared, because then your brain, half of it might stop working and you might not think of opportunities which might even be there. So the way I think about it is, I'm learning AI. I'm trying to see what's changing. Are there opportunities out there for new things that might come out? If AI is building apps, let's say, really quickly, then maybe it'll be easier to make apps. Don't limit your job to whatever your current job might be, but being more open with new opportunities would come, and there'll be more things you might be able to do. So being more open like that I think that's fine. Being more open to new opportunities that might come your way, and be positive about it, because it's not like you can control it. So it is what it is. If other people are telling you more about it, be more conscious. And this has happened before internet, for many years. I've lived at the time when there was no internet. You being worried about the next thing would not be the right path. You want to mold it into a more positive world. That should be the goal. It's this is coming up. How can we make it better and make it go in the right direction? I think. Oh, do you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if maybe you guys went to college, right? So what would be something that would not be a good idea to get an education out of college that wouldn't really get you a lot of jobs?
I would say there is a lot of information online on, if you're thinking, let's say you want to study a field, I feel you should keep your interest. So if your interest is in math or any subject, maybe not even math, any subject you're interested in, there are jobs in almost all subject areas. But doing a bachelor's or master's in specific field, you want to do your research on what does the future look like? What kind of jobs do people get from it? So doing more research around it, I would say that would be. Is there any subject you were more interested in? Okay.
Yeah, I can touch on this a little bit. I think I went to college fairly recently. It's been 3 or 4 years since I graduated, and I think one thing I learned is that don't box yourself into a specific something. When I started working, I realized that everybody on my team, even though we're all doing essentially the same role, everybody has a different background in what they studied. We have some people who studied something medical or biology or public health, and then they completely pivoted and broke into tech. So I think unless you want to go into something that's very focused, like medicine or law, or something that requires a little bit more of a technical background, I think keeping your options open and like Sister Seba said, doing the research of what your interests are is important. On top of that, I think just your degree doesn't, it's not just your degree that'll get you somewhere. It's a lot of the other skills that you develop. So inshallah, when you do go to college, make sure you get involved in other spaces, whether that's even things that you're passionate about, like sports or interests or clubs or something that draws to your attention outside of what you're studying. People really value that well-roundedness. So don't box yourself into just one thing because that's based on what you're studying.
And maybe like 5, 10, 15 years from now, things are going to be very different. So it's very difficult to predict what should I study today, which will make it, make you successful then. We didn't know when we started either. So the best thing is, as I was mentioning in my skills to have, is stay curious. Like whatever subjects you're taking, get a degree definitely, but on top of that, curiosity on how things are working. How can you make it better? Like what can you bring to the table that can make things better? If you have that curiosity, it's going to take you far.
All right. Other questions? Yeah.
Yes, I use it.
Yes, and in fact, we are encouraged to use AI in our daily jobs for things where we don't need to make. Sorry, that's my son.
That's funny. Yeah, same here. I think it's very encouraged actually, because if you're not using it, you're almost falling behind, because there's so many ways that AI can make your day-to-day jobs more efficient. So I think for the things that require the human interaction, like that's still your job, but little mundane tasks that would otherwise take a long time, AI can save you a lot of time. So it's very, very encouraged actually, I think, in the workplace to keep up with it.
Yeah, completely agree with that. But it opens new opportunities too. Like I do use, for me personally, if there's an email you have to write, like to make it sound more professional or make it come across more clearer, I put my email, depending if it's a very serious email and going out to very senior people, I will check with AI, like, can I improve it? Or if you are doing a coding and you get this code, you want to check with AI, like, oh, what does this do? And what do you see as problems? Like, it's good to check with it. But then there are new opportunities coming. Like we are using AI for call center. So all the calls that come in, some of them are handled by AI. But is the AI working the best? How can we improve it? Like I have to look at the data. Analysts would look at that data and be like, what's the performance of this AI system? When did it fail? How do you improve it? So while we use it to make some parts of your job easier, new opportunities would come up where you are assessing how can you make it better? Like what changes do we make to the AI system to give even better experience? So I would say new opportunities are also opening up. Yes.
Okay. So I'm in civil engineering. A little bit about myself. I also worked in fire department for 2.5 years as a hazmat manager, and I was trying to pivot myself from structural engineering and explore fire department. So I took this job in fire department, and I tried to use AI for a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, AI didn't know a lot of stuff about hazmat. It didn't. Every time the answer was, you need to contact authority having jurisdiction, which was me. So as much as you think AI is smart, it's not very smart in civil engineering. It's not. Even in daily plan reviews, the reason we have jobs is AI is not able to still cut what a human brain does. We review plans in a manner like AI would take. It hasn't reached that level. So still humans review plans on computers. I'm not sure how long for AI to take my job. But I haven't, it's for what I see, it's not able to answer my simple questions when I try to hey, what do you think about pre-seed stressing, which is angling at this? I'm not sure. What about this? So I ask very, very deep technical questions to AI because my job is technical. I don't think the AI has gotten that deep yet. Maybe it's a matter of time. I'll catch you up later next year what happens with my AI and my questions. But yeah, so far it's not able to help my job, but I do check AI for my grammar.
Can I add one relevant recommendation for kids or school-going kids? I know a lot of kids probably are trying to use AI to get shortcuts to things and teachers are not allowing you, or there's restriction around it. I would say, even if you're using it, use it to improve your understanding of concepts, not to get answers out of it. Because, of course, AI can customize any topic into things which you are interested in. For example, if you love basketball and there is a topic related to that, like related to some maths concept or physics concept. It can give you specific example about how, you know, playing basketball is related, and how it can make it really easy and simple for you to understand, so you can leverage it as a tool, but don't become a slave of AI where you depend on AI to give you answers. So that's my suggestion for the youth.
So I also want to give this, like, AI will replace you if you're an employee, but what if you're a boss? Like, if you are the boss employee, like, for example, like as a civil engineer, I'm a professional engineer, right? It allows you to be a consultant and start your own business. It basically allows you to take projects on your own, design your buildings for owners. So basically, it allows you to set up your own business, sole proprietary, and build the projects that you want to. If nobody's hiring you, you know what? Take a bank loan and build your own house. That's a possibility. Buy a land, take an investor with you, buy a land, build a house. Like, that's what civil engineering allows you to do. So just for the earlier question, the answer is, like, can AI replace you? AI cannot replace a business owner.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. My question is, what would you recommend if, like, you have you want to go in, like, a specific field, and when you go in that club and you're not liking it, what would you recommend?
Give it time to experience it fully, but if even after that, if you don't like it, that means that it's not something that you're enjoying. Sometimes you hear about things and you get excited, but once you really experience it, you realize maybe that's not where your interest is. You can pivot and switch to something else.
And pivot back again.
Yeah. And try something else. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back. And I think sister also gave a very good example in her life that she pivoted. So.
And I'll just add to that, don't let that one experience be your total perception of the field, because there's some fields where, like, certain people's experiences can be very different. So don't box yourself into that category. Keep your options open and explore other things, but also don't completely close off your mind to that just because you had one bad experience. There can be better ones in the future.
Yeah, I'll just add that even if it's a work, like when I was a coder, I really actually liked it, but let's say I hated it. My first job is I have to code this and I hate it for some reason. You're still learning how to talk to people. You're still learning a lot of different things, no matter what work you do. I feel like no job is less or more than anything else. No matter what job you do, you will learn talking to people. Some people will get upset, right? Like, how do you deal with that? Or you think something else needs to be, how do you convince folks? So you're learning all these, no matter what work you choose, you will learn these skills, which you will take to the next job. So you will improve over time, even if the mindset shouldn't be, I hate it. To be like, oh, this is what I can learn. And then you can always change. And don't wait for anybody's permission. Like they say, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. You are the person who's deciding what you do, right? So it's up to you. You're learning something. Don't think you hate it. Like, even if you hate it, you're like, oh, what should be my next goal? And pivot towards it, but learn the skills, and everything you do makes you better. Anything else?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
So, what do you think was more difficult for you, and why? Like, the transition from high school to college, where you may be, like, the first time living alone or away from your parents, or from college to the workplace where you're done with schooling and starting, like, your next chapter in your life?
Oh, that's interesting. It's different. So it's all about, I think for me, it was all about experiences. So when you go to college, you are at a different age. Your brain has evolved. Like, now you might think you are really smart at 18, but once you get older, you're like, at 18, maybe you hadn't had all those experiences. So for that age, it's appropriate for that age, I feel. It's different, but it's because it's appropriate for that age. For your friends would be all 18, so their maturity is at that same level. I would say neither was difficult, because your mindset should be, how do I learn from it? How do I make myself better? of my friends who who do you want to hang out with. So you're learning things, but these experiences would make you better and better. When I look back, like staying away from my parents, that's a very can be a horrible thing. A lot of people cry, but it's also an exciting thing because you are experiencing independence and having dinner with your friends when you are that young and paying for your own dinner. That's an experience which I still remember. I'm like, it feels good to be paying for your own dinner and feeding your friends. So I wouldn't say anything was difficult. If you have a very positive mindset, each experience would be good.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is very subjective on the environment that you're in. Like for some people, transitioning to college is much harder because it's a much bigger change in environment, while for others, it's more into the workplace. I think for me, the transition to working was a little bit more of an adjustment in the sense of realizing that, in college, you still have so much of that. You can do this as you're older too, but I think once you get in the workplace, it's a little bit different. But in college, there's still that like carefree kind of energy that you can have where, you're taking classes and you're learning so much, you're surrounded by your friends. And, I think my college years were like the best years of my life. And I look back fondly upon them. But at the same time, in the position I'm in now, I'm like, I do not want to go back to school because studying and, the grind and the daily like workload that was in college, it's like a different type of stressful. So I think both can be difficult to adjust to, but at the end of the day, it's very subjective, and the environment that you're in makes a big difference. And, the independence that you have and all of the skills that you develop, it all comes together.
Yeah, plus one to what Sister said. I think both the switches are very different in nature. One is you are going from the protective environment of your home to college, where you would meet people coming from very different background and still probably studying the same thing. I moved to college along with hostels, so like my parents were a 12-hour train journey away, so it was not always possible to see them. It was like maybe once in 6 months. First day I did cry. I never thought I would, but first day it was like, that realization that now I have to, like, I will be responsible for everything. But that experience gave a lot of like exposure to things. Like back in the day, we had to book our train tickets ourselves. Like there was no online system at that time. So like going and standing at a railway station in a crowded line and even going through that experience, I would like that. Those were the things like I would not exchange for anything, because those were the experiences that made you learn and made you grow and gave you confidence. So that was one thing. But then switching from college to workplace, again, a very different experiences, because now your livelihood is dependent on that and you have to do your best at work. So nothing is difficult. As the panelists are saying, it's all in your mindset. Everything is a challenge. Go ahead. Keep it with open eyes, open mind, and you will be successful in that.
I want to add that for me, the most difficult part was transitioning from my master's to job, because it was my first job in America and I was trying to get a job, and it was extremely hard to land a job. So the first job is very, very hard to land, and the amount of resumes you have to send out to the employers, be patient with it. And the first job pretty much decides which field you are going to land in. So to help that, I think try your internships. Like it's not what you know, it's who you know. Try to make connections while you're in college to make that transition easier. I'm not sure what my audience is here, because I am self-made. I came to America by myself. I tried to land a job, and I was trying to fund my college by myself, and I was like, money was running out and I needed a job as soon as possible. So that was very stressful. But the good point is I am so great at job hunting that I had an immigration issue, and like a couple of years ago, I landed 3 jobs in 2 weeks, because that skill is a lot, because you need to learn that skill, and you learn only through experience. Somebody cannot teach you, you apply like this, you apply like this. No, you need something, you go for it, and that's the skill you will learn through experience. So be ready for it, be patient for it. Everybody gets a job if they try. sure, know that, no matter how bad the economy is. Yeah.
Any last questions?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that's a very common problem too, because you have a passion about something. I think there's two ways you can approach it. If it's in a field where you can apply those skills in a different type of job, like don't box yourself into just that job specifically. But the other thing I would say is that, your job is not your entire life. Like you can have a job in something that you're mildly passionate about, but then do something on the side that like is your true passion, even if it's not, the most economically beneficial. So like think responsibly. For myself, like, I kind of had that where there's so many things I wanted to do, and I had this passion of like, opening up a bakery and like, doing like baking and making like desserts and like all of these things. And I knew in my head that like, it's hard to scale that. That's not something that's stable. And, I still had my interests on the side. So like, I realized that just because I'm working in a field that's not as, where I can't do that type of like work, I can still do it on the side. So, I like started my own business on the side outside of just my day-to-day like work, because your job again is not your entire life. Like you can have a life outside of your day-to-day job, so you can have an income stream from the field that you're working in while also pursuing your hobbies and creative passions on the side. So like, if you're into art and you're realizing like, okay, being into art is not going to make me a lot of money, that's okay. Like you can still pursue that while also keeping your options open and studying and doing something that's, like impactful in a different way, and applying those same hobbies and those same skills that you would have in the other way.
Totally agree with what sister said. Like sometimes you love doing something, but when it actually comes to, making money out of it, you might not love it that way. Like I also love like baking, and while I was working at Google, I literally thought of leaving and, starting my own business of, baking and supplying cakes to people, like home bakery kind of concept. And everyone in my family was like, are you sure? Like you really want to leave your job? And this is like, everyone wants to get a job at Google. Why do you want to do that? And so I started something as a part-time, and very soon I was like, no, I don't think I want to do it as a job, because when you're baking for yourself or for your family and friends, it's a different thing. But when you're doing anything professionally, making money out of it, it's a completely different game. So even if you're interested in something, really passionate about it, test your waters before giving up everything for that. And as sister said, like, you can always do it on the side. So I still do it. I still like invite my friends and treat them with my baking stuff, baking skills. But yeah, I have my job that I kept, and I'm glad my family came in there and stopped me from making rash decisions at that point.
Yeah, so now there's like a lot of food over there. If you want to have some, there's pizza, chips, chocolate, water. There's a lot of stuff over there. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. Thank you.